Lonzo Ball's injury has sure made a lot of his fans feel like we may never see him return to the court. After getting injured late last year, around the halfway point of the year, he has constantly and consistently seemed like he will be returning soon. A new injury, a new ailment will occur, and he will be completely pushed back multiple months. And I'm not quite sure when we're going to see him. But a question I do want to propose is, how much of a difference will Lonzo Ball's return mean for this team? And does Lonzo Ball's return to this team fix the issues that the Chicago Bulls currently have? Those are the questions that I hope to be answering for you today. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me, but let's not waste any more of your time. Let's go and get right into things. Does Lonzo Ball's return, hopefully next year, fix all of the issues that the Bulls currently have? New reports have shown that Lonzo Ball will likely be returning, hopefully at the start of the new year, right after the calendars flip, sometime in January, if not potentially February. That would hopefully put the Bulls in a situation where they're somewhere around the mid-year mark, and Lonzo Ball's return would help them get a good push into the playoffs if they're currently outside that when he does return. Now, currently the Chicago Bulls sit at a 9-14 record, 12th in the Eastern Conference, and not looking as great as expected. With the Bulls' cold start to the season, lots of fans are starting to worry and think that the playoffs hopes are already dwindling for this team. Even 5 games below 500, fans are starting to believe that the Bulls have zero chance of making playoffs, if at all. And, some outlandish fans, some fans that are maybe a little bit, too ready to turn the page, are already saying that it's time to blow this team up and start young and start new. I don't agree with that by any means. I think this team is built to be in a position to win, but there is a lot of question marks surrounding this team. So, what is all going wrong for the Chicago Bulls, and will Lonzo Ball's return be enough to hopefully fix or at least improve these situations? Now, the Bulls' offense is playing well below average, subpar by many accounts, with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, and plenty of options off the bench. You would think this team would at least be able to crack into the top half of the league, if not the top 10. You have 2 All-Stars from last year, a man that you brought onto this team to be an All-Star, and a really, really good group of guys off the bench. Shooters, you have people that can score and play make on so many levels. But for some reason, this team just sits right at average. They're 16th in the NBA at this current moment with 111 points and a half per game. That is what their average at this current moment. 16th in the league with all those weapons. It's a little bit surprising, to say the least. Lonzo was not a super crazy scorer, averaging 13 points before his injury last year, but that would slide him into the 4th highest scorer on this team in the current moment. Not only are you bringing 13 extra points to this team, but you're adding a new layer to things. A lot of this team works through inside the three-point line, at least in the starters group of guys. DeMar, best in the mid-range. Vooch has been really, really good in the post. And, Zach is your primary three-point shooter, but he also does work in the mid-range quite a lot. Lonzo Ball last year, and for most of his career, has been a really good three-point shooter, which would allow you to space a little bit better, hopefully allow you to, move the ball around, get some better shots that aren't so much contested because all of your points are coming within the arc. Now, Lonzo's biggest strength offensively does not come from his scoring, but instead from his passing. He would open up the offense so much. Not only does his three-point scoring threat open up the offense by itself, but, in the fast-paced, gets the rebound defensively, we've seen a lot of quick, timely layups for this team. With Zach LaVine, with Javonte Green, Patrick Williams, all these fast guys that are explosive and can score on the other end really, really fast. The fast break looked extremely good when Lonzo Ball was in there. But not only that, but in the half-court offense, it would completely transform the offense just from returning Lonzo Ball. Now, I'm not saying that Ayo Dosunmu, Alex Caruso, some of these guys aren't great in, moving the ball around and finding openings, but certainly nothing like Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball can throw a perfect oop when he's completely stationary and he just sees that cutting perfect oop. Bounce passes, he can find anyone on the court if he thinks that they have a chance to make an open shot. Lonzo Ball last year had a 5.1 assists per game. And although that's not substantial, it's nowhere near 10 assists, which is, the all-star level of passer, but that would put him at first on the team in assists, with I believe the closest being DeMar DeRozan with 4.9. Lonzo Ball opens up this offense dramatically. Shooting, layups, mid-range, he's still quite effective in all those arts, but primarily in his passing game. Getting assists, opening up the court a little bit, fast break, half-court offense, all these things. Not only that, but it allows you to move some guys that deserve to be a starter. Honestly, I would assume Alex Caruso, they deserve to be starters, and they're good, but it allows you to move them down to the bench, which means that your bench has been propelled to a high level as well, offensively, defensively, on many different accords. Now, another issue for the Bulls has been the defense. Maybe not a huge issue, once again, falling somewhere around the middle. The Bulls are at 15th in points per game with a 112.9, which is slightly below what their offense is, which is a prime example of why the Bulls are playing below 500 so far this year. But Lonzo Ball is one of the best defensive guards in the entire league, for being honest. And honestly, can guard 1 through 3 and completely shut down some great scorers. Shooting, fast break, all these things. Lonzo Ball can at least limit, if not almost shut down, some top-level scorers. Currently, the Bulls do have some really good guard play defensively. I would assume Alex Caruso are both really, really good at that. But I don't think they compare to Lonzo Ball in that regard. If Lonzo were to return, not only would he be able to guard your top guys, your people like Steph Curry, James Harden, all these top performers, Luka Doncic, although he's not going to be able to completely shut them down, it will at least limit their play enough where it's going to force the ball into other players' hands a little bit more, and then you're taking the ball out of the superstars' hands a little bit more, limiting their shots, which is going to allow the Bulls to play better defensively on the remaining guys and hopefully limit the amount of points scored by the other team. Now, the Bulls average 12.7 steal blocks per game. I combine the steals per game and the blocks per game together because I think that gives you a more well-rounded aspect to how defense plays in regards to forcing turnovers. Because on some regards, teams may be really, really good at getting steals, and they may be first in steals, but they could potentially be the bottom of the league in blocks. But overall, they could fall right in the middle because their steals outweigh their poor blocks, or vice versa. So that's why I kind of like combining the two, because sometimes, and for players as well, because you might have a guy that's really, really good at steals, leads the entire league, but not so good at blocks, and ends up falling below average in regards to defense. So the Chicago Bulls averaged 12.7 steal blocks per game, and Lonzo Ball by himself adds 2.9 steal blocks per game, nearly 25% of what the Bulls are currently doing. Lonzo Ball brings by himself. That alone is enough to turn the tides a little bit. That enough alone is able to take your defense from 113 points per game and losing by 1 or 2 points to winning by 1 or 2 points. That takes your defense from being the 15th to the top 10, which we saw last year when Lonzo Ball was healthy very, very early on. This team was a top 5 defense. They trickled down to a top 10, but it seemed like they completely collapsed after Lonzo Ball's injury, falling down to like 20th last year. This year, they do sit at 15th, but imagine how much better that could be if Lonzo Ball were to be playing. This Lonzo Ball's return, defensively, I think, has a greater impact than offensively. He can slow down your 1 through 3 options. He can, be a two-way scorer, three-point shooting, all of this additions to the team. So, the question that we proposed at the top of this video, does Lonzo Ball's return fix the Bulls' current issue? And I think the answer to that, quite simply, is yes. An incredible yes. He fixes the offense, scoring, brings you more three-point shooting, which this team does lack, brings you a playmaker who can, help you in the fast break offense as well as the half-court offense. It makes your bench better because you're taking starter caliber players and moving them down to the bench, And defensively, it improves their defense dramatically. Not only in creating turnovers, but also limiting the amount of total points scored by the opposing team. So I think Lonzo Ball's return, whenever it may be, January, February, hopefully at least one of those two, and hopefully not later, I think Lonzo Ball does fix a lot of the Bulls' issues. And with the Bulls having a really tough schedule at the beginning of the year, as I mentioned, 9-14, and if you guys were to have watched some of my predictions for this year, I did say that I think 12 of the first 20 Bulls games will be against playoff teams. That's kind of why we've seen them struggle a little bit. And they've been able to beat playoff teams, something they couldn't do last year. So imagine what they can do once the schedule gets a little bit lighter, which we will be seeing very soon, as well as once we see Lonzo Ball's return. How much better can this team do with Lonzo Ball's return is a question that can't fully be answered, but I do think this team will be a playoff team, and I think they'll get a lot better with Lonzo Ball's return. And I do think Lonzo fixes a lot of the issues for the Bulls. But what do you guys think? Does Lonzo Ball's return fix the issues for the Bulls? Does he improve this defense to a top 10 defense? And how much better overall does this team become, not only because of a lighter schedule, but also once Lonzo returns at the start of the new year? What do you guys think about that? If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me. And as always, I hope it taught some today. Hope it made you smile. When you have something really important to me, affects someone's day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if you all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.